Hey everybody, it's the Live All Good podcast coming back at you. Today's episode, we are going to talk to the creator of the Unsealed. Stay tuned to find out what that's about. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are here with Lauren Brill, the creator of the Unsealed. How you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good. Sun is shining. Can't complain. And if I did, no one would listen. So it's all good. But yeah, so what's your background before we get to the Unsealed? Kind of how did you get started with? I know we have a similar history. We worked at a similar or the same station at different
Yeah.
times. But yeah, what's your background? How did you kind of get going in the media and that kind of thing?
So I wanted to be a sportscaster since I was 10 years old. My dad used to take me to hockey games, and
Nice.
I loved going to games with him. And I was like, it'd be so cool if I could go to games and get paid.
I'm with that. I'm with that. If you could do what you love and get paid at it, that's the
Yeah,
best.
this 11-year-old me had this light bulb that went off, and then I met this woman at a game who was a executive for NBC, and I was like, that's
Oh
it,
wow.
TV.
Wow.
And it like fifth grade, it all just kind of came together that I was going to be a sportscaster. So I was narrow focused for years on becoming a sportscaster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did. I wrote for the NBA. I was a sportscaster for MSG Varsity, a high school sports network in New York. After
Wow.
that, I was in Buffalo working as a sportscaster there, and then Cleveland. But during this hyper-focused goal of becoming a sportscaster,
Mm-hmm.
I became really interested in social issues. At 11 years old, I had no idea about social issues and social justice and racism and sexism. And, at 11, the world was perfect. And I just liked
Sure.
sports. So
Sure.
that was I always say sportscasting was my little girl dream. But in pursuit of my little girl dream, I found this other dream of creating positive change in the world. And at first I was like, okay, I'm going to do it through sports. I'm going to talk about racism. I'm going to talk about sexism. I'm going to use
Mm-hmm.
sports as a vehicle to elevate stories and to empower voices that shine light on these issues. But
Yes.
I kind of reached a point where a plateau where I was like, okay, this is as much as I can do with sports,
Right.
sports being
Right.
my focus. So then I created the Unsealed to kind of invert it. So instead of a sports person that talks about social issues, a person
Mm-hmm.
that talks about social issues that does a lot of sports stories. So
Nice. Okay. And also I can imagine when you're a sportscaster, an anchor, reporter, whatever that is, you still have a certain type of audience that is listening to you, that's watching you. And with the Unsealed, this is completely uh, it, it's whatever audience resonates with whatever story that you're putting out there. I'm
yeah, I
sure.
mean, it definitely widens my audience, and these are human stories. So even if I do
Yeah,
a story with an athlete, if you're not a sports fan, you could still connect with the story on a human level.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's really not just about, it's not at all about the nuts and bolts of sports. And to be honest, it's not a sports site. I do a lot of sports stories or stories with athletes because of my background in sports and my connection
Correct.
with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of stories about, singers and DJs and moms and all different types of people from all different walks of life on the site. And that's really important to me to have that versatility because I want to empower different voices and show different perspectives so that we break down stereotypes and we break down stigmas and we break down these walls that separate people and divide us and
Mm-hmm.
humanity in all of us.
I couldn't have said it better. I think that's what you're getting at. You
Yeah.
want to show the human side of everyone.
Yes.
That's important. We're all human.
Yeah.
And once we start losing sight of that, that's where we get into, well, this person is wrong and this person is right. Well, that's too, yeah, that's too pointed. We all
Yeah.
kind of the same basic things, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, just so people know what the Unsealed is we tell stories in the form of open letters. And I chose open letters because I thought people would reach into their hearts a little bit more and be a little bit more open when they thought they were talking to someone as opposed to
Ah,
talking about themselves. And
mm-hmm,
letter writing
mm-hmm.
was always how I expressed myself to people and to tell someone how I felt. I would write a letter. So for me, it was a natural match. But
Sure.
But yeah, like the idea is to like, I may not know what it's like to be a black man in this society. I will probably
Mhm.
never know what it's like to be a black man in society. You can tell me every day this is what it's like to be a black man, but I'm never going to walk into a convenience store and see a cop and go, "Oh my God, he's gonna shoot me." I'm just
Right.
never going to
Right.
have that feeling. So because I'm never going to live that experience, I'm never going to know exactly what it's like
Mm.
to be a black man. But even though I won't experience the same things, in life we experience similar emotions. So I don't know what that exact experience is like, but I know what it's like to be scared. I know what it's
Right.
like to feel like nobody is fighting for me or helping me. I know what it's like to um to feel like to feel in danger. I just feel it
Absolutely.
in different circumstances. So I
Right.
can relate to it. I will never fully understand it, but I can relate to it and create that compassion and create that unity based on the common human emotions that we all share.
That's the empathetic part that
Yeah.
people, I think people miss the empathetic part when they're looking at certain actions or reactions to
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the empathy is so important. So getting into the Unsealed, when did you create the Unsealed?
So I actually the idea for the Unsealed came. I should know these dates better than I do. So we started the Unsealed in like end of July 2019, and the
Okay.
idea came started in December of 2018, and I actually started it with a friend.
Oh,
So
nice.
initially, was my friend was going to do it, and then she was a lawyer and she liked her job, and she just had a
Mm.
lot going on, and she couldn't put the same amount of time and energy into it. So she's not
Sure.
doing it now, but it was something we started together. She's a brilliant woman and a great person, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
we launched it in August or July 23rd, I think, of 2019. And then
Hmm.
yeah, and then I started doing subscriptions in about January, and we've created
Okay.
an Unsealed community that has been really beneficial, and it's helping me grow and helping me build the site to be bigger and better and do more things like video and
Oh, I love that.
yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. We've had 300,000 users in less than 100 stories in 180 different countries. So
Wow.
we've
And
got
that's all less than a year. I was going to say coming up on your anniversary.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So it's all in the first year. We've been featured. Our stories have been referenced or featured in People Magazine, in E Online, Indianapolis Star,
wow.
New York Post, San Francisco Chronicle, um,
That's awesome.
TMZ. Yeah, we're like we've really had a nice reach. As
Yeah.
NBC in Washington D.C. did a story on one of our letters, and same thing with a CBS in Phoenix, Arizona.
Hmm.
So yeah, we've
Hmm.
been getting exposure, we've been getting references, and now
Yeah.
it's like me, little old me, who's a journalist, trying to figure out how to build a business. Like, oh my
Right.
god,
Like, wait, oh, how do we expand? Yeah. What
like how do we
business?
make
Wait.
money? How do we like no? How do we like? I get
Well,
it. Like I can tell a story, but like, what do I do from here? And that's what's been a really,
sure.
like learning process and a hustle and a grind
Sure.
and a, there's also the fear of like making a wrong decision and not
Yeah.
making the right business decision. But I have like a good group of mentors that I'm really grateful for. My big brother, I think, is the smartest person in the world. I'm not biased. Yeah, I,
No bias at all because he's your big brother.
no,
Okay.
no, not at
Okay.
all. But he's the smartest person on the planet. So I have
Nice.
him, and I really lean on him a lot. And yeah, and I just try to like move forward every day, and every day is like you go and you hustle for this company that is my baby, and I'm so passionate about it, and I love it more than anything. And I'm sure like I harassed you to go look at it.
Well, you didn't have to harass me too much, so it was all good.
A
All good.
little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, all day long I'm reaching out and talking to people. It's definitely a hustle, but when you love something, it's so
You're right. It doesn't feel like it's a job because it's a passion. So,
yeah.
well, and that's the thing too. When you get out there and you get to talk to people and you're having these conversations, that's what it's about. That's how you get to know people. That's how you have empathy for people who are different than you by getting to know people. Period. You know, that's one of the things that I love about the Unsealed. Um, Even before I became a subscriber, that's what really resonated with me about it. So, um, I wanted to touch on like two or three. I know what stories resonated with me, But
Okay.
what are two or three um, of the stories that you've done that have really like hit home for you, or or even one that really hit home with like a ton of your viewers? You know?
I'm going to mention a couple. First, I didn't mention one of the reasons I came up with this idea too was I wrote an open letter to sexual assault survivors while I
Mm.
was at Channel 5, and that was about
Hmm.
my personal story of sexual assault. I was drugged and assaulted by two strangers when I was 16, and I
Mm.
didn't talk about it for years and years. And so
Hmm.
writing the letter was very empowering. So I try to give everyone else that same platform and that same outlet to empower themselves the way I felt empowered. So that
Mm.
letter was
Sure.
life changing for me. Um,
That was also yeah, that was very powerful as well.
yeah,
Like reading that and just if you can't feel what you were putting into that and what you went through and actually how cathartic that was and like you said empowering it was,
yeah.
if you can't feel that, man, I need to might want to go to the doctor, get your heart checked
I
because
mean, it was empowering to put out there because here I was
right,
holding this secret for so many years, and it made me
yeah,
sick. Having
right,
that secret, and I didn't even recognize that that was making me sick, but it made me sick. And when you put it out there, it's almost like you give the skeleton in your closet back to its rightful owner. Like I didn't do anything wrong.
yeah,
I didn't have a skeleton in my closet, and by keeping
mm-hmm,
that secret, it's like you did something wrong. But when you throw that secret back out into the world, you take it off the weight off your shoulders, and you take that skeleton and you give it back to its rightful owner, which is
absolutely,
the person who hurt me or the people who hurt me. So yeah, so that was kind of like the launching pad to the idea, to the
mm-hmm,
to the
to the
mission behind it, and you know there was true emotion that was wrapped up into this concept and to why I wanted to do it. And then there's so many letters that have inspired me. There's so many people
sure.
that I've met that I've just been in awe of. I did a letter recently. It's always like the last letter is like my favorite, but
Right, right. I can imagine. Yeah,
uh,
the last one you did, like, oh man, that's my best one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's a woman. I did a story with her when I was in Cleveland, and then I asked her to get involved with the Unsealed. Her name is Angela Dennis.
Oh yes,
Her,
yes.
she's
Oh my gosh.
Her,
Mm.
her son is Malik Hooker. He played for Ohio State. Her other son plays for Ohio State now, but Malik is now with the Colts. He was a first
Yes.
round draft pick in 2017.
Hmm.
Angela is just when you
Amazing.
she's amazing. Like you meet her and you think that you can conquer the world because she shares her strength with other people. She inspires
Hmm.
people. And her background, we did two letters with her. One letter we did to struggling single mothers, and the
Hmm.
other we did to white moms. This is how you can help keep my son safe.
Yes, that's the one. I actually read that one. That was really, really powerful. That was nothing short of almost brought me to tears because I obviously my mother is black, so
Yeah,
I'm the son of, and I was like, oh my gosh, if I can imagine my own mother writing
yeah.
this, you know?
She's
Yeah.
so real, and like she said things in that letter that I mean, she talked about how they used to take black children and use them as bait for alligators. And when she said that, I was like, no, that can't
Hmm.
be true. That can't be possible. It was true.
Hmm.
It was possible. There was a newspaper article about it. Like,
Yep.
you know, it was just unreal. But Angela was grew up in the projects. Both her parents were drug addicts. She dropped out of
Mm.
high school in ninth grade. She was pregnant by 16, and she had 5 kids as a single mom.
Wow.
Um, she finally decided at some point she wanted to show her kids that you could have a better life, and it was up to you to create that better life. And she went back to
Hmm.
school, got her GED. It took her 7 times to get her GED, but she felt like this was her chance to show her kids that you can always
Wow.
improve your life.
But
Got
she
her,
never quit. That's the amazing part,
never
you
quit.
know? Yeah.
Got her GED, moved her kids into a safer neighborhood, went to
Hmm.
all her kids' sporting events, pushed them, inspired them, loved them, created this loving family. And
Hmm.
all 5 of her kids went to college. Um,
Yep.
and all of them have success in their own right. Well, Malik is the most famous because he's an NFL player. She has a
Hmm.
daughter that owns a business. She has a son that's on the scholarship at Ohio State. All her kids are successful. And she has this toughness in her bones. That's how I describe her. She's got toughness in her bones, but she has so much warmth in her heart. And she's just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
perfect combination of a human. And she's so strong. And I think that like reading her letters, talking to her, meeting her just makes you a better person.
Well, the amazing part too that really stuck out is, I mean, on top of everything that you said about her already, was also how the community feels about her.
Yeah,
Oh,
every story with her goes viral because
yeah,
everybody supports
because
her.
the community is like, "Yep, that's her." She's. Oh wait, let me add this. Oh no, well you don't know her because she did this, and it's
Yeah. I'll
oh
put like an ad like, hey, we're talking to Angela on Thursday, and it'll get like 40 shares. I'm like, Angela, like I write your name and people share it.
yeah,
She's just, I
yeah.
told her she should run for office or something.
She's amazing. Yeah,
But
she's an amazing human.
and
Yes,
what I think is cool, like I'm doing all these stories about all these different issues, like especially now with what's going on with race and all these issues that are really
sure.
coming to light in the forefront. White women have not throughout history have not been kind to the Black community. I mean,
Hmm.
even the videos
Hmm.
coming out with Amy Cooper and the one in San Francisco. You see the one in San Francisco? The woman was
Yes.
so
Yep.
condescending. Like that's the woman who claims that she's not racist, but she couldn't be more condescending, and she assumed the guy
Right.
there.
Right.
And like
Right.
I am a white woman. Like that's the way the world sees me. And I have gotten so much support, so much
Hmm.
love, and I've gotten so much trust. I mean,
Hmm.
Thomas Q. Jones never met me in his life, and he trusted me to write a letter with him about racism. And I think
Hmm.
that just shows you hope. I think that
Hmm.
shows you character in our community. And I think
Yep.
that shows you the ability that people can judge people individually. We don't have there are good and bad in every culture, and there are good and bad in every race. And
Hmm.
I just the site and the Unsealed is a community of different people and different stories, and me writing them and people trusting me with their stories and trusting me with issues that I don't face.
Hmm.
It's just it's a responsibility, but it's also a huge, huge compliment. But I think it's just as much a testament to the people who trust me as it is to the company itself.
Well, and it's very much also what we're talking about now. You are not only are they trusting you with their story, right?
Mhm.
But they are trusting that you are giving them the voice that we've been asking for, that we've never had. You are giving a platform for them to be heard
Yeah.
by someone somewhere who otherwise would not have thought about it.
Yeah, and I really
That's
wanted to create
amazing
a
about it.
platform where I could like say things the way they should be said. Like I couldn't write a
Exactly.
letter for a corporate company and say "Dear white mothers."
Right. Right. They
Maybe post George Floyd, yes, but like when I did it
you
6 weeks
hmm
ago,
hmm
no, no, no,
Yep.
no, no, no. There's a
You would have been
political
looking for another job.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a political correctness, quote unquote,
Hmm.
political correctness that's expected. And there's
Sure.
also a balance of like, we don't want to like make people annoyed. Someone else could write it, but not me as working for the station could not put that story
Exactly.
report on it.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to hold back. And I mean, I don't think there's anything hateful on my side. I don't think there's anything offensive
No.
to anyone. What I try to do is just be honest and give truth and have uncomfortable conversations and talk about things that may
Mm.
be in other places they are not talking about.
Well, and sometimes the truth is, I think you put it out there unapologetically, and that's great.
Yeah,
But
you know,
sometimes the truth is brutal to hear.
the
And
only thing more powerful than the powerful is the truth.
yep,
That's why they have NDAs and they try to silence people because the only thing more powerful than the powerful is the
yep,
truth. And,
absolutely.
and so truth,
And once you are able to shed the light on the truth, everybody's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, this can't be." But yeah, it's very powerful, and I definitely appreciate your platform for that. I wanted to touch on this. I know there was a letter that you put out there. Um, it was shortly after I think George Floyd's death, but talk about that
the letter
because
that I wrote from my voice.
from your perspective, correct. If you could touch on that, because I know that again, it's a community of all different people.
Yeah. So
We're talking about the truth that is hard to hear or talk about.
that letter was, what did I title it? Here, a
I don't.
white woman
Yeah, I don't
with a
have the
heavy
time.
heart. Here's my advice
Yes,
as a white
yes,
woman with a heavy heart. So
correct.
I was very upset after the Amy Cooper incident in Central Park, and then
Mhm.
George Floyd, like the rest of the country. And I was like, I was reaching out to friends, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do, to reach out to friends in that moment. I was like, what can I
Mhm.
do? What can I do? And they said, talk to white people, and get this word out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote a letter, dear America, dear white America,
Mm-hmm.
here's racism through my eyes. And this is what I've seen. And I kind of said, like, I don't know what I could tell you as a white woman that is
Mm-hmm.
more powerful or more influential than someone who's actually experienced racism. But
Mm-hmm.
this is why this breaks my heart. And the reason it breaks my heart is because people I love and people I care about are being treated poorly in our society. And that hurts me when your friends are hurting, when people you love are hurting, when you
Mm-hmm.
hurt too. And George Floyd represents every black man in America. Ahmaud Arbery, Trayvon
Yes.
Martin. These aren't people that did like their incidences aren't justified. So
Right.
therefore they could be
Right.
anybody.
Right.
Therefore their race and not who they are is
You
ending their
you
life.
you could totally see, like you talked about the people you love and your friends.
Yeah.
You could see their faces in that instance. You
Under
could
their
see
knee.
them under that knee.
Thinking about
Absolutely.
them being in that position and
Hmm.
being so helpless, and it just
It's heartbreaking.
I mean,
Yeah.
going out jogging. I mean, the jogging story of Ahmaud Arbery, it sounded like they were out like hunting an
Hunting.
animal.
Hunting.
Like, oh, I
Mhm.
found him, I got him. Like, oh
Yep.
wow, like if I found something in my apartment, like I'd be like, oh, got like it was so
Yep.
inhumane. It was
Yep.
so inhumane, and
Absolutely.
I wanted to reach people who maybe would listen to me because they see me as more like them.
Right.
And,
Because you look like them. So they might
yeah.
understand your point of view.
And then,
Absolutely.
as time went on, I questioned whether or not that article I should have written it or not, because then it seemed
Hmm.
like, now was the time to listen and not to have your own voice. And I still wrestle with that. Should I be putting my opinion
Hmm.
out there, or should I just amplify other people's voices? And I'm not
Sure.
sure what the answer is to that. I really don't know. I don't know.
Well,
But
I think part of the answer is you did something. The wrong answer is to not do anything and be silent,
yeah,
right? Now you can be silent and do more listening. That's all part of this process. But if you had that was on your heart and you had to put that out there, if you didn't do that, that's a bigger problem, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So I think that was the right move to
yeah,
go ahead and if you were moved to action, whatever that action is, that's what we also want people to know too.
yeah.
Be frozen by inaction.
I
It may not be perfect,
Yeah,
you know.
and that's what I've learned. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. Like, I'm
Mhm.
going to make mistakes, but that shouldn't stop me from continuing.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
I'm not
So
going to be a perfect ally. But yeah, so that
yeah.
article did very well. And it was really cool. My pediatrician, who was a white woman, older, she's probably, I don't know how old she is now, in her 50s, but she wrote to me. I haven't seen her since I was a child. And she said, "Thank you for writing this. I need to do better. I want to do better. And your letter
Wow.
helped show me how."
I'd see exactly. And if you had not written that, you would not have reached her. And so I was going to ask you, so what was the reception? You can talk about positives and negatives if you like.
Yeah, I got a bunch of, from a couple friends,
Hmm.
specifically black men. They wrote, and one person's mother wrote to me, "Thank you for writing this." And that
Hmm.
meant a lot to me, that it meant something to them that I wrote it. They said, "Thank you
Sure.
very much for writing this. It means a lot to me." Like, someone said, "This is why I support the Unsealed." I was like,
Yeah, there you go.
I
There
was
you
like, "You want me to publish it twice?"
go.
Yeah. So I mean, it was. I got some of that, and then
Mhm.
so a couple people reached out to me that it really touched them, and it opened up their eyes and made them think. And then
Mhm.
there was people on the other end of the spectrum. There was one woman who wrote, I like your one person canceled his subscription,
Mm.
and he said that
Yeah.
and this was the counter argument that I got to my piece, is that I was encouraging violence, and I explained that being
Wow.
anti-racist doesn't make you pro-violence. Like,
Right.
two separate things, two separate arguments, two separate issues to me. Like,
Hmm.
we need to end racism, and the violence that's happening, the riots are just a whole separate bubble that we need to discuss, and comes in a whole separate. If you're against the riots, it doesn't make you for racism, and if you're against racism, it doesn't make you for the riots.
Exactly.
So let's just separate that. And then she tells me that my story was racist because I called, because I referenced that I have Black friends that I love, and Black, I had an ex-boyfriend that was Black. She goes, this was a white woman telling me this.
Mm-hmm,
She goes, racist because she taught a class on prejudice, and you're not supposed to reference someone's race. They should just be your friends, not your Black friends. They should just be your boyfriend, not your Black one.
Oh, I got you.
But I'm writing a piece about racism. How could I write about racism if I can't acknowledge someone's race? I understand in the context of like going to the movies, I shouldn't say, hey, I'm going to the movies with my Black friends. But if I'm writing about their race and the effects of racism, I have to acknowledge that the lens I'm looking at it through is through the friends that I have who are Black.
Right. That's kind of important to that piece in particular.
So it's in context of the story. It is not prejudice to call someone Black when you're talking about the effects of racism. If I can't acknowledge their race, I can't acknowledge the challenges that exist.
Right.
I'm acknowledging that my Black friends and my white friends have two different experiences, and the experiences are different because of race. And if I can't acknowledge their race, I can't acknowledge that difference. And
that's also a bigger problem too. If that simple thing cannot be acknowledged, then it's a longer educational process into understanding the full systemic issues that exist.
This woman's argument got better.
Oh no! Oh no!
It got better. I was so mad because she deleted it all after she realized she was really losing. She then tells me, I'm Jewish. She tells me the Black community should just be more like Jewish people. Jewish people Jewish people have been attacked and killed and stuff, but we buy our own businesses and then just make money that way. Let me tell you something. First of all, when have you seen a Jewish person or hear about a Jewish person being unarmed and killed by a cop? Like the abuse that we hear about, it's real. There is anti-Semitism, but the anti-Semitism has happened with radicalists or
it's not out in the broad daylight as this is.
It's not by it's not by the police. It's a different. It's
different section.
It's not apples and apples, right?
Right.
The other part is, so Jews are white. What saves us is our whiteness. The fact that we can walk into society and know. I had to tell you that I was Jewish.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me that you're Black. I have to tell you that I'm Jewish. You do not know, and my last name doesn't indicate people don't know that Brill's Jewish. So I can completely mix in without anyone knowing. Literally, our whiteness is what saved us from oppression here.
That is definitely not an apples to apples argument for sure. And no one is saying anything about the historical issues that have gone on. That's not what we're doing here. But
and it bothered me because I felt the only thing that being Jewish should have a role in this issue is it should make you more compassionate because you have the history of your family being oppressed. The oppression is very different. Like we were not oppressed based on race; we were oppressed based on religion. But we have that background and we have that family background, and that should have been passed down. That not to oppress people. So I was a little hurt that you
tried to use that mark with you.
Even that people in the Jewish community wouldn't be more understanding and compassionate. And that she would be blind. I mean, Jews, I think, used to have to wear something to acknowledge
that they were Jewish,
right? But we can take things off. You cannot take your skin color off.
Exactly.
So completely. You can tell I'm getting enraged again. It's completely different. So
I was gonna say, you definitely got some pushback there from writing that.
And what drives me nuts about racism is sometimes like the most racist people and the most racist comments come from people who are like, I'm not racist. I believe in equality. Like she literally taught a class on prejudice behavior or like what? So yeah, I think a lot of times like racism comes from people who truly, deeply don't believe that they're racist, and then they make the most racist comments or
Right. Well, that just proves how systemic it really is.
so
And
great.
and I want to mention, like, so when we talk about, or when you hear anyone say systemic racism, just to be clear, it's not necessarily systemic, or let me say this, it was never systemic to specifically oppress Black people. That's just been the easiest target.
Yeah.
It's been a system that was meant to uphold white men.
Yes.
That is the foundation of the
Yeah.
systemic injustice. It was a system designed to uphold white men. So along the way, yes, white women were pulled along with that because they were with the white men. And then the easiest group to identify, to oppress, was because of their skin color.
Yeah.
But it was not necessarily designed, oh, we are going to go single Black people out and hold them down. No, that's just been the easiest target ever since this system was created.
That makes,
And that is the hard part that people don't want to really look at, because we're all born into it, and we're born into it unknowingly. It's not, we didn't help create it,
yes.
but we have to become aware of it
And
to then fight
so
against it.
so much of it is just, as you said, ingrained in our system that it's hard to, unless,
To,
unless you learn,
mm-hmm.
you don't realize.
Right,
And
right.
the the part of white privilege is just thinking. I I think part of privilege in general is
Mm-hmm.
like knowing life is not fair, but not realizing you're benefiting from the unfairness.
Correct, correct. And then, yeah, that presents a whole nother set of issues.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I mean, I
Um,
also talk a lot about sexism, right? So I
mm-hmm,
always related
mm-hmm.
sexism and racism, and they're not the same. I just say they're like cousins, and their last name is inequality.
Absolutely, yeah. They're
But
definitely related. They're
they're
definitely
related.
related.
But the big difference, I didn't really realize the extent of what a sexist society we lived in until my late 20s, early 30s. Like I really
Sure,
realized the extent of it, and
sure.
I really didn't feel like opportunities were held back from me until later on in life.
Mm-hmm.
I would put money on that most people who are black wouldn't tell you that it took 30 years to realize racism exists.
Nope.
So I think
I can tell you it didn't take 30 years. That's for
yeah.
sure.
So that's a huge difference that it took me 28, 29, 30 years to realize
Right.
the extent of sexism and I
Yep.
and when I realized I was infuriated and I wanted to fight and I was like, and my friend who was black who was dealing with racism at her job was so calm. I'm like, how are you so calm? And she's like, Lauren, I've been dealing with racism my whole life.
Her life.
I can't be angry my whole life.
Right, right.
And I was like, okay, this is a big difference right here. Like sexism and racism are not, there's a there's
They're similar. They're, yeah, you got to fight them the same way, but
yeah, there's
they definitely are not the same,
yeah,
for
and
sure.
the severity, I
Well,
think
let me ask you a question.
appear, yeah.
I was going to ask you a question, since we were talking about the pushback that you got, and obviously some of it really lit your fire,
Yeah.
obviously.
You can
Um,
tell.
just a little bit, just a little bit. But what advice would you give to another white person who now understands, okay, this goes way deeper than I ever thought. Everything that we just talked about, right? What would you say to them to help them um like get through this pushback,
Yeah.
to help them still be motivated to understanding and being educated and awakening with what's going on, and fight the pushback that they're going to get from other people who look like them. What
Yeah.
would you say to that?
I would say that make decisions from your heart and not from other people, because then you'll have
Mm-hmm.
other people influencing your whole life. But, think with your heart and live with your heart. And if your heart is telling you something is wrong, then you
Mm-hmm.
have a responsibility to stand up for what's right. And I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe whether it's racism or your own personal issues or
Sure.
sexism or LGBTQ, when you stand
Sure.
up for right versus wrong, you look at yourself in the mirror differently. You feel
Yep.
differently about yourself.
Yep.
You don't give in to people and you continue to fight for what you believe in and what you truly think is right, whatever
Hmm.
it may be, it'll change you in a way that you'll be proud of.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because um, you after George Floyd's death, you saw a post that I'd made on social media as well,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what has to happen, right? You said you have to go with your heart. You got to make decisions from your heart. If you can't drop into your heart and feel these things, whether it's racism, whether it's sexism, your mind, your brain is going to try to justify in some kind of way what you saw and explain it away.
Yeah.
Your heart will always tell you what's right and what's wrong.
And when you follow and you're true to your heart, you follow your heart,
Hmm.
you feel better about yourself. You feel good and you're more empowered and you're
Hmm.
able to do better things in your life. If it comes back at you when you do the right thing, even though it's hard in the moment,
Hmm.
like look at Muhammad Ali and how he stood up for himself and the
And absolutely,
that he
that's
got more pushback. He almost went to jail.
yeah. He did go. Yeah,
Well,
that is conviction.
he well, yeah, but he
Yeah.
lost it. He lost 3 years. 3 years.
Yep. 3 or 4 years actually of his prime. Yeah,
Fighting.
prime competition.
Um,
Hmm.
and pushback is hard, but so is
Hmm.
great. Like
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
so
What's harder,
creating
the
change.
pushback? Yeah, the pushback or actually the change for better? You know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also when you get pushed back, I secretly enjoy like fighting back a little bit. I'm like, I got an answer for this.
Or that kind of motivates you. If
I
what's the saying? If they don't hate you, you're not doing it right.
Yeah,
Is that
I don't want to say I enjoy it because that means I would enjoy that there are racist people. I don't enjoy it, but I
motivates you to fight harder?
it lights my fire. That's what
Yeah.
it lights me up, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, let's
Like, yep.
slow down.
This just gave me a new month of renewed vigor. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, all right.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's good. So, I guess kind of wrapping up for this episode, what's one message, or one message, one thought that you would like our listeners to find out or just come away with about the Unsealed?
um, one thought.
Or if it doesn't have to be one,
Yeah, I
but
mean, the idea
one
behind the Unsealed is
them know.
that we all should support each other, whether you're white standing up for black people or you're men standing up for women, that
Hmm.
we all are people and people should stand up for people. And I hope that when people read read the stories on the Unsealed, they see humanity in all of us and it creates a little more drive to stand up for right versus wrong.
I
And
love it. I love that. I love that. So let us know, how can people get in touch with you?
I
Um, go
got
ahead.
yeah, I got
Sure.
Instagram, I got Facebook, I got Twitter, I got LinkedIn. So Laura_Brill on Instagram, the Unsealed on Twitter and Instagram, and then underscore Lauren Brill on Twitter. And go to theunsealed.com. You can contact me there. There's a contact page, www.theunsealed.com. There's a section called Lauren's Letters if you want to hear letters from my voices. The main page has letters from everyone's voices. So theunsealed.com is the best way to see the work. And then I got Instagram and every other Facebook. I'm Lauren Brill. So I'm everywhere.
Nice.
I can't
Nice.
hide.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. I will also have have all of your contacts in the blog post that goes along with the podcast here. And also, if you guys ever have trouble finding Lauren, please look at liveallgood.com and you'll find the blog post and you can listen to the podcast there. We're also on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. We're working on getting on Apple Podcasts. So yeah, we, like Lauren said, we are not hiding. You can find us. Awesome. Lauren, appreciate your time today. We really had enjoyed talking about the Unsealed, and we're collaborating on trying to make the world just a little bit better than we found it. So I really appreciate your time. I hope to do this again, maybe on some different topics, and maybe we'll even do some podcasts just on sports or some fun topics as well. But we're here for the heavy hitting topics as well.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, and we will do this again. Awesome. All right, everybody. This is Live All Good Podcast. We will talk to you next time.